if you change your mindset and walk in and say, okay, I'm here to serve other people. I'm here to help. I'm here to see, that's my role here. You put on what I call the cloak of invincibility, not invincibility. And what I mean by that is that nobody rejects Wonder Woman. Nobody rejects Superman because they're helpful. And so if you're known as that person, oh my God, David's here. That's great. Last time I talked to him, he tipped me off to that great vacation or that introduction or got me on a podcast. I need to go say hi to him. It turns the whole table.
In having conversations, because we're all networking, just be present. Don't, especially like you were talking about earlier, the sales quota, and if you're going to an event, we got to make it worth it, right? We invested in this networking event, and you've got to make something come out of it, so to speak. But more so, just be present. Don't be thinking about the opportunity. Think about just be present with the conversation. How important is that?
Unfinished Business Podcast Show with your host, David Sliman.
Welcome back to Unfinished Business, everybody. Listen, in the world of business, your network is just as important as your product or service. And Frank Agin, networking expert and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, is with us today. This guy is a powerhouse. He works with entrepreneurs, sales professionals, business leaders, and he really shows them how to cultivate relationships, build a referral network, and everything that comes along with that. So I am really looking forward to this conversation today because it's really going to be geared around developing a great network. I get those questions. How do I develop it? My daughter asked me that 2 weeks ago. How do I build my business? How do I get more referrals? Well, you got to network. And we're going to talk about his professionalism on this, his networking platform, again, AmSpirit, and whether, listen, you're looking at networking or just refining your skills so you don't look pushy, so to speak. This is a guy you're going to want to listen to. So, Frank, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Really looking forward to this conversation. So, Frank, you've built a national community of business connectors, let's call it.
Yep.
What do most people misunderstand about effective networking? I'd like to dive into that question.
Yeah, I mean, networking gets a bad rap. I think the reason, David, it gets a bad rap is that people kind of equate it. They equate it to sales. I'm going to go to this event, and I'm going to walk away with a chunk of business. And when it doesn't happen, because they're pushing too hard and people are put off, they don't get the business. People feel don't like them, and they swear it off.
Yeah.
I use golf as I have lots of metaphors, but one I really love for networking is golf because, and when people will call me and say, well, I'm trying to get business or, trying to do this, trying to get a job, whatever it is. And I always ask people, if you're teeing off from a 415-yard par 4 dogleg right, and you don't have to play golf to know that, that's a long ways away. And most people, when I talk to them, I ask if they golf and they understand the game. And I say, are you looking to drop that in the cup from the tee shot? Everybody laughs. No, of course not. It's like, no, you're looking to get it down the fairway, keep it in the fairway. If you're really good, get it on the green in your second shot and 1 or 2 putt it. That's what the best golfers in the world want to do. And they understand that, right? They understand that. That's what networking is, right?
And I think and I love golf, by the way, so I can totally relate to this. But it's a process, right? You've got to take it one shot at a time, one opportunity at a time. And I want to dig more into this. In this show, we always like to touch on how you got into business, right? Tell our listeners a little bit about your journey, and I want to come back to this networking, but a little bit about your journey in your ownership of business and transitioning into that and AmSpirit, so they get a little bit more background.
Yeah, that's a great question. We both played college football. I think you played at Heidelberg, if I recall, right?
Yes, I did.
Yep. At any rate, I played college
You
football. I went to college to play
Where'd you
football. I
play?
didn't
Where'd you play college again?
school in Wisconsin, Beloit College, a little
Yes, I
tiny
know it. I
D3
know
school.
it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love the D3s. That's you and
yeah,
I are in the D3 world, man. We love it.
yeah. Oh, I ran into a guy at a conference this weekend, and we hit it off. As soon as I knew he went to Carthage and played football, it's like you are my brother. At any rate,
The D3 world.
yeah, but I went just to go play football and did really well in school because I didn't want to get kicked off the football team. And that led me into law school at Ohio State. I got a law degree. I got an MBA from Ohio State. And from there, I started my career in public accounting. And it was a great job. I was a tax consultant. It was a great job. It was great pay. It was great everything. And David, I didn't want to do taxes for the rest of my life. And most people understand that. And so I left after 6 years to go into private practice, figuring, okay, that's my next step. I'm very entrepreneurial, like a lot of the people I work with, like you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be in the corporate grind anymore. But a funny thing happened when I went into private practice, and the funny things that nothing happened. I had no idea how to get clients. I just figured they would call, and they don't. And it's complicated as an attorney because we're not allowed to be calling. We can't call people.
Yeah.
You have to wait. So someone suggested I get into a tips club or a leads group, like a BNI. Many people are familiar with BNI.
Yeah.
And I really had no idea what they were talking about. But they introduced me to an organization that was based out of Pittsburgh that were putting together these groups. And I took to it like a fish to water. And the way it was explained to me is that you can lift up your whole world just helping other people and trusting they do the same for you. And it's not a perfect science, but it's somewhat reliable. And much of my life has been built just helping other people and just trusting that things will come back. So I really did well in that organization, had an opportunity to become its first franchisee, and then bought it out about 25 years ago. Stopped practicing law and decided I was going to become a student of networking, a student of professional relationships, understanding why things work and why things don't work, why networking works and why it doesn't work, why some people get referrals and why other people don't get referrals. So that's really kind of been my journey, and I love it. I love it.
Great. You use this word, and I can't stress it enough. Helping.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's one thing that I've learned through the years, it is how to help professionals become stronger, or how to help people become stronger personally and professionally. But that word, that four-letter word that you talked about, is help. Even though you're networking and getting to understand people, when you can change your mindset and going into the conversation, how you can provide a value of some sort, even though you may have an opportunity there that you could see. I think really going in with the idea of helping somebody, maybe you can turn them on to somebody, maybe you can do something for them they don't want to be doing. I don't know what it might be, but going in, I think early in my years, I always wanted to go in. If I was going to work with somebody who I knew had a lot more skill set, or I wanted to learn from, I always tried to bring something to the table with that. I just didn't want it one-sided. And I think that's an important piece to this.
Well, it is, and I think that's part of getting back to the misconceptions about networking. Okay, I'm here. What can I get? And I mean, it's really it's common sense. People aren't going to the networking event to serve you. They're there for their own purpose, right? And so they're going to dial into you if they realize that you could help them with their purpose, even if it's just in a small way, right? Just as, hey, I read an article. I think this might help you. And we lose it in this sort of a dog eat dog world, got to meet quota kind of a day.
Yeah.
It's really kind of counterintuitive to be helping other people, but it works.
It does. Listen, there's a whole mindset around this, right? And you've discussed the mindset techniques to improve your networking skills, so to speak. Can you share some of that with the listeners here?
Yeah, I mean, along those same lines. If we'll talk about going into networking events. People are like, oh, I hate going to networking events, and part of the reason they hate it. Well, it's very foreign to us because as humans, we developed in small tribes and we weren't used to seeing other people. And so we do have this natural aversion to strangers. But people are especially have a special aversion to that because okay, I'm going to go in, I'm looking for something, I need a sale, I might fail, I might be rejected. And so, David, getting back to what you're talking
Yeah.
about, four-letter word help, if you change your mindset and walk in and say, okay, I'm here to serve other people, I'm here to help, I'm here to see, that's my role here. You put on what I call the cloak of invincibility, not
Okay.
not invincibility. And what I mean by that is that nobody rejects Wonder Woman, nobody rejects Superman because they're helpful. And so if you're known as that person, oh my God, David's here, that's great. Last time I talked to him, he tipped me off to that great vacation or that introduction or got me on a podcast. I need to go say hi to him. It just it turns the whole table, and really that's the you know it doesn't necessarily have to be a networking event. Anytime you encounter somebody to ask that question, okay, what can I do for that person? Because if I do something for somebody, then they're more likely to want me in their network.
Yes.
One of the things I tell people, this is going to really kind of sound strange, but
Uh-huh.
I developed all these little metaphors and sayings and whatnot. I hate coconut. I just absolutely hate coconut. I get a gag
Okay.
reflex when I taste coconut. Um, I know why. It doesn't really. It's it goes back to my childhood. Doesn't matter. But if you hand me an almond joy bar, which is like all coconut, I will take it. Not that I'm going to eat it, but I know that there are people in my life who love coconut.
You like it.
You
Yeah.
know, and so
Yeah.
I'm going to take that bar not for them, but for somebody else. And it's the same thing with opportunity. So if I'm at an event and somebody mentions something, a podcast having to do with funeral services, you know what? Hey, great. I'm glad I know about that because I know people, or I want to know about that because I may run into somebody who's in that business, and I can connect the two of you. And, yesterday I got an email from a woman she wrote a book on real estate and introverts, being an introverted realtor. You know what? That's not for me. I'm not a realtor, but I know somebody would love to have her on the podcast, right? And so it's like I'm just
Yes.
collecting opportunities, even though they're not for me. They are for me indirectly because I'm doing something for somebody else. And now those two people look at me and say, oh, wow, what a great guy.
It really is self-fulfilling to be able and doing this podcast now. I've over the last year and a half, I've been able to make some great networking connections, and that's not why I do it. I do it because I love hearing the stories about business owners and getting to know people like yourself. But I'll tell you, there's nothing more fulfilling for me than to be able to connect a couple guests. Like someone does this, they say, "Hey, do you know somebody who does this?" Like, "Oh, you know what? We got somebody here who you can connect with." So
Yeah.
it really is. That's really what it comes down to. And there's, like you said, it's not the quick hit where you're going to hit the drive off the tee and go 450 yards into the cup. You've got to take it in steps. And I think trust the process, right? Just trust the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
So, okay, for somebody who's just getting started out, right? What are the foundational habits of a strong networker?
Yeah. What I tell people, my first book was called Foundational Networking. And in that book, I talk about, it's not about your skills and techniques. Don't get caught up in having a great 30-second commercial. Don't worry about all those little things. I really kind of boil it down to three things.
Okay.
One, your presence, how you present yourself. You know what? If you're if you take on the persona of a mope, oh, business, I'm not really doing well, you'll get a little bit of sympathy short term. Long term, you'll just repel people. But if you take on the persona of, you know what, I'm in business and I'm really excited. It's not going as well as I would like, but you know what, I'm really optimistic about today. People are going to be attracted to you. So it's more, I wrote a whole book, and that's a third of the book talking about our
Yeah.
presence, but how you show up in the world matters. It really matters. And so that's the first thing. The second thing I talk about is altruism. And what altruism is really your habits and attitude related to how you're going to contribute to the world. And people, when they think of giving, they think of money. Like, I don't have any money, Frank. It's like, no, it's not money. It's encouragement. It's information, right? I mean, you have a podcast. You could teach somebody how to do a podcast, or just encourage them. Hey, I did it. You can do it. There's lots of ways that we can show up in the world. Volunteering, things like that, is one of the big things I talk about. Is a way of giving back, because you don't volunteer alone. You volunteer with other people who have a similar interest that you do. So there's a whole, so the second thing is that altruism. And then the third thing is what I call integrity. And I think integrity is really important. You need to do the things you say you're going to do. You need to be honest. You need to share credit. There's lots of little things to integrity, but it comes down to really three words. People need to know you. They need to like you. They need to trust you. And those are kind of the elements underpinning those sorts of things. Because once people know you, like you, and trust you, then they're going to be more leaned into, okay, how can I help David? How can I help Susan? How can I help whomever?
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, listen to that back, that whole, I think maybe it was 3 4 minutes, but just play that back for yourself. If you're not really engaging yourself in networking events or just even networking situations, play that back and use that as your foundation. Because Frank, that was fantastic, and I think our listeners are going to get a lot out of that because it's an important. You're always networking, aren't you? I
Oh
mean,
yeah, yeah. But we all are. We all are. I
yeah,
mean, when you're talking to your neighbor, that's networking. It's
it's
networking.
networking.
It's just building relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I will say to this is in having conversations, because we're all networking, just be present. Don't, especially like you were talking about earlier, the sales quota, and if you're going to an event, we got to make it worth it, right? We invested in this networking event, and you've got to make something come out of it, so to speak. But more so, just be present. Don't be thinking about the opportunity. Think about just be present with the conversation. How important is that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is. And, you talk about it's the long game.
Yeah.
People come to me and like, yeah, how can I get so many sales by the end of the month? You should have started 6 months ago. I mean, it just doesn't, the laws of human nature don't change because your boss decides he wants to double your quota, right? Or that
Right,
you've been
right.
sitting on your hands for 3 months. The human nature is human nature. But people want to feel like they're cared about. Just a quick story.
Yeah.
There was a famous anthropologist, Margaret Mead. She died in 78, but did a lot of great work in anthropology. She was teaching a class, and one of her students asked the question, what was the first sign of human civilization? What was that first sign when we knew that humans were different than any other animal on the planet? And as she was thinking about her answer, students are thinking, okay, it was clay pots, it was fire, it was weapons. And she responded with a healed femur. And now the femur is the bone that connects the knee to
Yeah.
the hip. And she went on to explain, she said, in the animal world, you don't see animals with healed femurs because when they break their femurs, it's a death sentence. They can't move, they can't protect themselves, they can't get food, they die. Um, but when we came upon the remains of humans with healed femurs, and that takes about 6 to 8 weeks to heal without modern medical care, we knew there was something different. We knew somebody stayed behind. We knew somebody helped this person. Now, if you stop and think through that, what happened, if you were in a group of people where you broke your femur and they left, you were dead. And chances are they were less strong and they were going to die too, because let's say there were 4 people, they went down to 3. And there was another down to 2. You couldn't do it in that
Yeah.
world. But if we're in a group and I break my femur and you're staying behind, a couple other people are staying behind, when we go forward, it was very nomadic at this point. When we go forward, there's all of us. And not only is it all of us, which is stronger than less of us, when we go forward, you have me who says, you know what? I remember, David, that you stayed for me. And I'm gonna do the same for you. Now it sounds like a small thing, but this second gene pool survived. And there's so it's it's almost Darwinism, right? It's social
Yeah.
Darwinism. It's like the gene pool of people caring about one another survives. So we all have that kind of gene pool in us. We're all looking for people who metaphorically are willing to stay behind if we break our femur, right? So we're looking for people who care about us. And if you're somebody who, you know, you're the person when people walk into the event, you're like, hey, it's great to see you. I've been waiting to talk to you. How's the family? How's this? I want to introduce you to somebody. If you come across as, hey, I care about this person, they're going to want to have you in the network. Likewise, being present, leaning in and listening to what somebody has to say, that sends a signal that, okay, this
And
person cares.
it comes back to that four-letter word, man. I mean, we
Help.
just keep bringing it back here, right? Help.
Yeah.
I would have never thought of that. That was going to be the answer, but what a great story behind that. And it really does draw some clarity to the idea of just helping, right? And
Yeah.
just really good stuff. So, listen, I don't like to use this word, especially in my sales world, but the word follow up and checking in because it just drops credibility. But I'm going to use it here in this case. But what role does follow up um, build in a reliable network, and how can people do it without seeming needy or pushy?
Yeah. Well, I'll relate back to the other my just the story I just told, a healed femur.
Yeah,
People are
yeah,
looking to be cared about. So I think the follow up is important. What I always tell people in business is try to serve your clients or prospective clients in a way beyond what you sell, right? So if you're, and this really comes into listening, you start listening. Oh, the kid,
yeah.
their son plays soccer. Oh, wow. Calling up and saying, you know what, this is happening in the soccer world, or are you aware of this? I ran across this article. I saw your son's picture in the paper. All those little things, or you'd mentioned you're looking to get on a podcast. I know somebody who's got one,
Yeah.
and it has nothing to do with what you sell. It just has everything to do with caring about people, because we want to do business with those we know, we like, and trust. We want to do business with people who care about us. And if you stop and think about your life, I'll share mine. I have an insurance agent. I know I could pay less for insurance. He's got my back, right? It's
Yep.
worth the extra money for me because he's got my back. And it's the
Great
same thing
example.
along, yeah, with all sorts of things. It's really, hey, we have the best price. You don't care. I want the best service. I want somebody who cares about me, that when things go awry in my business, I know I can count on you.
Great example right there. Great example. So listen, the digital age has evolved tremendously. You've been doing this.
Yeah.
What still works? Like, how has the approach of networking evolved? What still works? What's overlooked? I mean, talk to me about your perspective on how the digital age has really evolved this networking approach.
Yeah, well, I joke about this. You might want to cut this out. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Go,
I always tell
go.
people,
It's
because people,
unfinished.
no, 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 no. It's not that.
Unfinished
It's
business.
yeah. I always tell people, babies still come from the same place. And you know what? And so people tell me, oh, LinkedIn, you don't need to do this networking thing. We have LinkedIn. It's like, no, you still need relationships. Nobody buys anything on LinkedIn. Just buy something on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has allowed us to connect. Technology has allowed us to connect. We've never met in person. I don't know how tall you are, whatever. Doesn't matter. But we've connected and we've developed kind of a kinship, right? D3 football or whatever it is.
Yes.
And so, but you have to have that relationship. And so it all really comes down to relationship. And so, yeah, things have changed. I was on a podcast out of Estonia last week, right? I mean, it's, that never would have dreamed of that 5 years ago. COVID really helped in many ways. It hurt in many ways, but it helped in many ways. Um, you and I wouldn't necessarily be talking. And so it's helped in lots of ways, but it's hurt because some people feel like they can rely on it. And I'm just going to fire out messages on LinkedIn and I'm going to, get 1,000 of these things out. and maybe I'll hit on one, and that's great. But there's 999 that you've stubbed your toe on too, and you're better off to talk to less people and go deeper, have a deeper conversation with people. So, technology, this digital age has helped in many ways, but you have to go about it the right way.
Yeah, yeah. And what I hear you saying is, listen, you've got to be able to stick to the fundamentals, right?
Yep.
You've got to have a good foundation in the fundamentals on networking, whether that's in person, digitally. You just can't be coming across what's in it for me kind of thing. But that's first. And then the second thing is, and I've grown up in the marketing and advertising space through my years, and it's just like a marketing advertising. Coke just doesn't do TV, right?
Right.
They do TV, they do billboards, they do magazines, they do digital, they do everything. So just like we're talking about here, you've got to have a number of different avenues for yourself in the networking game, and digital is one of them. But as
Yeah.
long as you have the foundational elements of this, what you're saying here is that you can really translate those over to different avenues.
Yeah. No, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. How does someone find the right networking group? Because I've
Um,
seen some really good ones, and I've been in some really not so good ones, some shitty ones, to be honest with
yeah.
you. But
Yeah. No. Well, I think you first you have to get clear on what you're looking for.
okay,
Right. I think that's, maybe it goes without saying, but you have to get clear on what you're looking for. I think the second thing that you need to do is you need to just kiss some frogs. I mean, you're going to run
yeah,
and, listen to what your network has to say, go where the people you want to be with are going. But I've been in ones and it's like, yeah, this is not for me. And I've been in others where I need to try and make time for it. And, and I think that the third thing I'll say is, and my wife shared this with me long ago. She said sometimes you have to create that which you want to be part of,
yeah,
right? And so
yeah,
it's if there's I do a call second Wednesday of every month, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's called the Networking Hub. It's totally free. I shouldn't say it's free. There's no cost. There's no, but there. I mean, there's no money. It's you don't have to pay anything, but it's
it's
your
your time.
time. And I have been doing it. This next month will be 59 months in a row.
Wow.
And we had 40 people on there, and they're coaches and consultants from literally around the world because 7 p.m. Eastern time is 9 o'clock in Australia. So, those guys are getting up and they're loving life because they get to network in the States Thursday morning before their day really gets going. And so, yeah, it's just something I had created because I want to meet more people. I want to take
Yeah.
advantage of Zoom and meet more people.
I know. Isn't it, this whole Zoom and just us getting on a podcast and doing this, um, it's fantastic. You're right. COVID changed things, and to be able, I probably before COVID, and at that time, I was building my organization, and I had franchisees across the country at this point, and I probably was on a Zoom call maybe 5 times,
Yeah.
before COVID. And then sometimes I'm on a Zoom call 5 times a day at
Yeah.
this point. But
Yeah.
it really, and I think that is one of the things that came out of it was to be able to connect like this with people all over the country and in some cases all over the world for that
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to switch gears. Talk to me about AmSpirit. I want to hear more about your company. I want our listeners to hear more about it. It's a franchise model, and I want you to dig in and give everybody an overview of your organization.
Yeah, what we do is we have a system where we bring together entrepreneurs, sales reps, and professionals into a weekly meeting. So they join, they belong to a chapter. That chapter meets every week, same place, same time, with exceptions, right? Holidays, things like that.
Sure.
And they go through a structured format where everybody is sharing about what's a good referral for them. Now, every group has only one person in each category. So there's only one realtor, one so on and so forth.
Right.
Um, But we have competitors out there. I had mentioned BNI, and there are certainly
Yeah,
others. And
sure.
how are we different?
Yes.
To be honest, it's hard for me to say because I've never been in those organizations, and I hate to make those kind of comparisons. But I can tell you what we're really passionate about. We're very passionate about helping our members generate referrals, talking with them. I had a meeting this morning with one of the realtors in one of my groups. I don't meet with everybody one on one, but just so happened we were having breakfast. I know she's
Yeah.
been struggling. It's like, here, Vanessa, I'm going to give you some pointers. Stop telling everybody you're a realtor. Everybody knows that now. Talk about when you're a realtor. Talk about when you serve your clients. Help their reticular activation system. Help them understand. And so we do a lot of that in the organization at the chapter level, and sometimes, one on one with people, really trying to help them. It is a franchise model, so we are
Yeah.
looking to grow across the country, and we really have come out with this recently. Have two ways of approaching it. People can buy a franchise. Right now, our franchise fees
Okay.
10,000. And there's a whole disclosure document. That you've been in the franchising world.
Yeah.
There's a whole
Yeah.
disclosure document. Yeah, I would have to share with somebody, but then they could start as many groups as they want. Now, some people are like, well, I'm in a small community, or I don't know if I can do 10 groups or do enough to justify covering $10,000. So we allow people to just buy a single chapter franchise license now if they want. And then they can
Okay.
buy another and then buy another and so on and so forth. And so, I think we're in 20 states now. We're in 10
Right.
states, 20 franchisees. That got that backwards. So,
So
yeah.
essentially, what you do is if somebody's interested in getting into a franchise, not only are you teaching them how to network and improve on that skill, but you're also coaching them on how to build a business around it,
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah.
Wow,
It,
it's great. And
well,
is it all typically, if like if somebody buys one here in just gonna say here in Park City, typically they'll buy that region in Park City and then they'll develop their groups, their networking groups within that area specifically.
yeah. That's a good question. 98% of our chapters are in person. We gave them the
Right.
choice after COVID. They all went back in person. I just think it works better. It works,
Hmm.
people say, well, nobody likes to go anywhere. I don't believe it.
Yeah, I don't
These
believe
people
it.
had a choice and they all wanted to meet face to face. But yeah, they would, somebody like in Park City or, Phoenix, Arizona, they're developing areas in there. And we do a lot. We coach the membership or coach the franchisees on doing a lot of things. So there's a lot of cross networking between groups. Not everybody's
Okay.
a basement refinishing guy or whatever, and we
Right.
want people to use people within the groups. But the one thing to mention with respect to our franchisees is all of our franchisees do something else. For a few hours a day, they're working our franchise, getting groups going, and working with their groups. The rest of the time, they're coaches, they're consultants, they're realtors, they're financial advisors.
Yeah.
They do all sorts of different things, and the two dovetail with one another. One of my franchisees, he's a web designer. He says, Frank, I get a lot of business from the chapters I work with, because I get to know these people. I get to like them. And when they're looking
Sure.
for somebody to refer or somebody to use, that's the person they look to.
Great. So my question is, so how does the franchisee make money when they set up their chapters? Is there's a cost to the the person who wants to join their chapter, correct?
Yeah, there's a membership. There are membership fees. There's a one-time membership fee of $295.
Yeah.
And then it's $95 a quarter thereafter. We'll probably raise those at the end of 2025. We generally set them for a 2 or 4 year period because I don't know. No,
Yeah.
if I could do it for nothing, I would do it for nothing, right?
Sure.
Because it's a lot of fun. I don't know that people appreciate things that they have to pay for, so that's part of it. But yeah, we've just got to we have to be a big boy business and decide, okay, we need to cover costs and pay people and
Absolutely.
whatnot. So
You got to run a business. Running a business is part of also making revenue and making
yeah,
dollars too. I'm not going to say it has to be your only focus, but in order to survive, you got to do that. And I think
yeah,
it's great. So listen, if you are in any type of business where you've got a great network, why not call you, Frank, and leverage that opportunity? Because, like you said, I mean, the franchisees who work with you, they have other full-time jobs, but really, it's just a natural way, one, to become a stronger networker, and two, as a franchise owner, you can really build the type of networks that you'd like to see for yourself, even for that matter. Not that it's all about you, but more for the community, but there's opportunity there. I like the model, I really do.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, and it's really, there's a whole nother dimension to it that I'm just kind of discovering, is that the franchisees are
Yeah,
networking with each other. I was talking to my
that's
guy
great.
down in Mississippi. He's like, yeah, my sister-in-law lost her job up in Cincinnati, and through just being involved with other people, he connected with somebody and she found a job. It's like, it's crazy. It's
Never
just the
know.
different levels.
Never know. Yeah, and really introducing others to your network. I mean, how important is that to be the connector and growing that business? I mean, it's got to be one of the foundational elements.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot
Yeah,
of fun.
that's great. Listen, it's been a great interview. I want to thank you. I want to ask you one more question. Actually, I'll probably do two more before we leave here. But what's one piece of advice you'd give someone who wants to stop collecting cards, collecting contacts, and really start forming, valuable relationships?
I get a question like this all the time when I'm on shows, and my consistent answer is this: find something you really are passionate about and go volunteer. Because I mean, it's
Great.
you start rubbing elbows with other people who care about the same thing, and you don't even have to talk about what you do. They're going to find out what's that David guy do. He's always here. He's great, and then they find out. But the other beautiful thing is that there are people who will see your efforts and they'll say, you know what, I'm not interested in that charity. I'm not interested in homelessness or dog charities or anything like that to be that involved in. But I gotta like that person because they're committed to the community. And so that's huge.
Great advice. Way to close this up here. Last question. Where can people get a hold of you? Where can they check you out? Where can they find your company if they have some interest in connecting with
Yeah,
you?
the simplest way is go to frankagin.com. You can find my email address there. You can connect with me through LinkedIn. Some people really love to connect that way.
Yep.
And that's just kind of a central. You can see all my books. You can just see all the things I'm up to, different things, and I'm
Great.
I answer all my emails. So
Excellent. Excellent. This is the networking guide. If you have questions, you want to become a stronger networker, reach out to Frank. Frank, I want to thank you for being on this show today. It's been a great conversation. I know our guests are going to get a lot out of this. And so, for all of you out there, wealth, health, success, go get a win, go get a connection today. Connect with somebody, big or small, it doesn't matter. Connect with them and with the intention of helping out. And Frank, thanks again for being here. We'll see you all next time.
Unfinished Business Podcast Show with your host, David Sliman.